Hello, my brushed fantasy friend. Thank you for visiting. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out my coffee shop where this piece is actually available for purchase at this moment. This is an original piece inspired by the Mother Nature commission that I did. After the color combinations of the greens and yellows and blues, I wanted to do another scene that was just 3 colors. I thought it was just gorgeous how they all played well together. I was on Pinterest and found the woman in the middle. Her figure, she's leaning back on a stair step, I believe, with her head thrown back, and it just reminded me of someone who might be singing very loudly, and that's where I got the idea or inspiration for the whole thing. It just kind of built up. The entire piece is a multiple of references. If you have been following me for a little bit, you know that I cannot draw from my head. So everything you see in here is referenced, but it's probably a good 20 different references. The woman in the middle, her torso up is one Pinterest picture. Her waist down is another Pinterest picture that I found. Her hands are actually mine. I took several pictures of me sitting in a chair with my hands just open, and I flexed my fingers trying to replicate like this power coming from my fingers. And then the coral is, and the reef section is all different pieces. The large stone structure on the left is a picture. The reef part is another picture. The little shells or shelves coming out of the stone on the bottom left is a different picture. It took some time gathering all of those together. The animals as well are also separate silhouettes that I found online. Most of it is Pinterest, but some of it was just randomly on Google Photos, trying to find the best ones. I think the only improvised is probably the leaves. I kind of just went with it. The branches and the trees are not, but with the leaves I don't know why florals are just easier for me to improvise. The colors actually became a lot harder than I had originally thought, only because they're so close to each other. With my other Mother Nature piece, the yellows, the greens, and the blues, they were so dramatically different, so they stood out from each other. Like on the face, her face is mostly greens, and then her hair was like blues and greens. Her hands were yellow, and then I added tints of orange, but from far away you can't really tell, so it looks like very, brilliant yellow. On this piece I found that the layers were so close to each other that was harder to see them and differentiate them once everything was painted. Also, pinks are exceptionally difficult to keep brilliant. These are my Etchr Lab paints, and I don't know if it's my paints, but actually putting them onto the Etchr's watercolor paper, it was very brilliant. But I think the paper is so porous with cotton that it would suck all of the color up. So this has several amounts of layers to get that kind of bright, brilliant, dramatic effect that I was wanting. I blended the colors together as well. So my royal purple, I added some of the magentic pink to it. The purples that you see emanating around her torso and her arms, and the purple down at the bottom left, are actually, I believe, the Prussian blue with the purple a little bit. Because again, the purple was so close to the magenta that I just didn't see the dramatic shift or change. So I added those tones a little bit to it to cool it down, maybe. I don't know how to explain it. I'm awful at color theory, so this was me just experimenting and trying to keep 2-3 colors, because I wanted a very little color palette. I wanted it to be very fantasy, very otherworldly. The rocks were so much fun to paint. I did have trouble trying to map it out, looking at different rocks. So it's 3 different rocks from one picture that I found on Pinterest, and it's a hike in water. It's a very beautiful scene, and I just took 3 different rocks that I liked and then placed them beside each other. It's a little bit of a puzzle piece, but looking at it and looking at the moss and the shape of the rock and just trying to figure out how to make moss and the cracks and the shading and the shadows of the rock with only pink was interesting. It was a challenge, but I had so much fun doing it. I added a little bit of the rogue red to some of the pinks, trying to get it a little bit more brilliant. I think with certain red shades, watercolor tends to fade. So I did spray this piece quite a bit with a matte finish. Here's a close-up of the rocks. Like I said, they were super fun. It was really interesting. I can't believe that I started painting 3 years ago. This is so strange to me. I don't know how to explain the concept of layers and like looking at something and understanding what layer is underneath something else, like a lighter tone, and then gathering it up on a darker tone. But I have definitely learned a lot in the past 3 years, just playing around and experimenting on my own. Also, I watch a lot of YouTube tutorials, but now that I have done so much on my own, a lot of times I'll try that first. I'll try to paint it on my own, and then if I can't figure out the coloration or the depth, I will end up on YouTube. Adding a little bit of purple to that rock kind of gave it some more depth too. These were so much fun because I was reminded of mushrooms a little bit. I don't know if they're mushrooms per se. I did see them on another rock formation of an ocean scene, and I just liked that they came out away from the rock formation, and it mirrored a little bit of the mushrooms on the other side where they come away from the tree. This is interesting too with depth because they're so skinny, it's hard to keep to the shadow, like a lighter part and a shadowed part. So I had a little trouble with that. These brushes come in handy all the time when I'm trying to keep to tight spaces. They are just detail brushes. I don't know if you can tell the handle is triangular, so you can really grip it. But these brushes, I don't believe they're no longer being sold. So this is all that I have recorded on this particular piece. A couple of people have mentioned that they have trouble finding my Redbubble page. So really quickly, let's do a fun little tutorial. So when you open up Redbubble, you can go up to the search bar, type in Brushed Fantasies, skip the E in brushed. My little logo pops up at the top. Click, and this is me. And then you can scroll through the various patterns that I've already produced, and down here is this one. So you can get it on a sticker and add it to anything that you would like. They have glossy stickers, posters. So you can click down below and find all of the products that it's available. T-shirts, really nice blouses, skirts, dresses, skins for phones, cases, a clock. The tote bags are so cute, I love those, and even aprons. So that is it. If you have ever had trouble navigating the Redbubble website, trying to find me, there I am. Thank you so much for hanging out today, my brushed fantasy friend, and I will see you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye.